Then number one, number two is to import the infra in transport. Yeah. Number three is to actually terminology in terminals. Yeah. What is terminal about? And then the functional infrastructure in economic development. Yes. And then the last one is government allocation investment toward transport in Malaysia. All these things is not only for individual company or corporate sector as a whole, but need the participation by the government who are to be involved in terms of budgeting and also monitoring. So which therefore regarding this business services or personal commitment, personal requirement and so on, so we are actually monitoring or budgeting by the governments. Yeah, it's not only individual. For the purpose of what? For the purpose of economic and business development. Yeah, in several in countries. Yeah. Okay. So, which therefore every year we have to see the budget. What is the budget for transportation and so on and so forth? Yeah, right. This is important because why? Development in infrastructure is considered investment for the government. It's not liability, yeah, investment. Because, for example, if you want to develop flyover, for example, you want to develop bridges, yeah, bridge, for example, yeah, that one is not on. It's not liability, yeah. That one is considered, or we call it investment for the government. Investment. So everybody use personal, industries, businessmen, yeah, public as a whole can use that facility so that in the later that we come up with the term in term of productivity. Yeah. Productivity is considered development for the country's economy. Yeah. You cannot say that when you spend for developing bridges, for example, you say that this one waste of government money. You cannot say like that because we are taking about long way, yeah, future time in future, yeah, for transportation to move better, yeah, and then we call it can get for seamless movement lah, reduce the traffic jam and easy for the importer, exporter, people, public use the facilities so they can generate more productions at one particular time, which is important, yeah. What is infrastructure? Infrastructure is that a connected structure and provide framework supporting structure, term or divided meaning different field. But perhaps understood is equal to road, airport, and other utilities, yeah, related to mode of transport. Yeah, this is infrastructure. And some the infrastructure is developed by government or corporate sectors, individual, or actually in road transport company, for company itself lah. Yeah, they develop the infrastructure and these utilities that are required to support the movement of people at one particular time. For the purpose, kalau road transportation, for the purpose of business lah. Yeah. Public work infrastructure referring both specific function mode, highways, street, road, bridges, mass transit, airport, and airways. This one is a big one, yeah. Cost billion of dollars they want to develop this, yeah. Want to develop this, that means come up from government money, yeah, public money, yeah. Paying tax money lah, yeah, taxpayers, yeah, to develop this thing. Yeah, for the purpose of public also lah, people, yeah, to move, yeah. Sometimes they involve business lah. Kalau personal entity, personal lah, yeah. All right. The various element may be collective, may be terminal, mean term, civil infrastructure, municipal infrastructure, simply public work, although they may develop and operate private sector and government enterprises. Kalau betul, maybe they are actually engaged with private sector and finance them and collecting toll, yeah, for 20 years, 25 years, and so on and so forth. Because one sometimes got no money to invest, yeah, because they want to use other thing also, yeah, to develop uh, the country. Which therefore sometimes they assign the corporate sector, private sector to develop certain subject, something like highway, bridges, yeah, and then from time to time for the purpose of and can be used for the public as a whole, yeah. So indirectly, they are actually helping government to grow in terms of economics in that particular country. Okay, and then That's why you put it toll. Toll is collecting money because why? Concession, we call it concession. Already budgeted in advance. How much is roughly cost to develop, for example, bridge, Penang Bridge. Then how long does it take you? I give you concession for uh, number of years, for example, and then you can profitable or not. Maybe 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and so on and so forth. These are the things that uh, public to consider on the infrastructure that normally have in every country they are developing this thing is a specific manner lah. Yeah. All right. In terms of economics, economic infrastructure could see a structure element economic allude to production of goods, yeah. Production of goods equal to transportation lah, yeah. And then services, transportation, right? Yeah, transportation without themselves being part of products and processes. That's why, as I told you before, the purpose of infrastructure is to generate the productions. Kalau dalam road transport trips, yeah, develop movements at one particular time to make sure that we are actually on the move, yeah, on the move. Maximize the movement in order to generate the productions, and then orang kata to make sure that that country is actually good in term of productivity lah, yeah. Kalau productivity they are equal to economic lah, economic and businesses, yeah. For example, road allow to transport raw material and finished goods and smooth flow. Kalau tak ada road, if there is no infrastructure at all, no terminal, no bridges and so on, how going to export that thing? Cannot move. Yeah, to remain there. Yeah, which therefore important roads. Yeah, road is part of infrastructure lah. Yeah. Okay, economic infrastructure example, internet improvement, airport, yeah, airport, canal, dam, dike, pipeline, roadway, road, tunnel, critical, yeah, bridges, and so on and so forth. Harbor, airport, seaport, yeah, harbor is seaport lah. This one also recording economic infrastructure also, yeah. Okay, without this, the economy in certain country cannot move lah, yeah. They remain stagnant and still remain third world country lah, yeah. Like Timor Leste, Middle Africa, very difficult because there is no transportation, less transportation development, which therefore difficult for them to transport their goods, yeah, from place to another. Then economics very slow moving, yeah, cannot grow as required, yeah, like other countries which are already developing for a better way for a longer period of time. Which therefore certain countries who are actually good in terms of economic, you can see their transportation infrastructure. They good in that one, that particular country is good. In terms of airport, in terms of seaport, yeah, rail, pipeline, and so on. All these things are actually infrastructure. If they're good in terms of infrastructure, that particular country become good as a whole economically. Okay. Public work is concept economic and politics. Sometimes involve politics, yeah, involve, yeah. Sometimes want to develop trunk roads, rural roads, yeah, involve politics, yeah. It's not because of course, sometimes involve politics, yeah. Politics also business lah, yeah. Involve politics, good for the public, yeah. So can be connected from rural to town easily. During 70s, for example, from Changlun to Alustar, Changlun to Penang, take about 4 or 5 hours. But now, due to a good in terms of infrastructure, from Changlun to Penang, only 2 hours. Good, right? And then you got other alternative like rail, kereta api laju, yeah, speed rail and so on can help rather than use road only. And sometimes from Penang to KL, those days take about 4 hours, but now take about few minutes because we have a good in terms of infrastructure. Yeah, kita ada airport, yeah, okay, airport can fly about 45 minutes, reach Kuala Lumpur easy. Yeah. And then if you road also take about 4 hours, and those days take about 8 hours, yeah, because during 70s, 80s, there is no proper infrastructure in terms of road development. So time taken to move from place to another. Now, from time to time, the development become easy, yeah, and then the public should be easier to commute or to travel from place to another. This is what we call it economic development and also improvement. Yeah. All right. Term of public infrastructure, reform only infrastructure capital involve these activities and internal some concept project via nation can improve economic infrastructure. All these things are talking about development. That means it's not liability. That one is one kata uh, economic infrastructure lah, ya kan? It's not liability, but that one is considered investment lah. Investment for future economic certain country. Yeah. Okay, faham tu. Okay, what that? What else? What else here? Dia kata utility investment. Utility is barang keperluan. Utility, ya. Is the employment used to reduce unemployment. Also, at the same time, kan, you develop road, also you can employ people, 1,000 people working under road transport infrastructure. In Malaysia, is about 4 to 500,000 working in the public work, yeah, dealing with infrastructure. For the purpose of what? Purpose of reduce unemployment also. Good also lah, because if people got job, that means they got purchasing power. Good for the economy, right? And then if the infrastructure ready, we can use this that facilities infrastructure to travel from place to another, doing personal requirement, and then solve personal problem, and then import export something, sending goods from plane to good, yeah, because of this infrastructure. At the same time, they can employ people who jaga toll booth, and then construction workers, engineers, supervisors, yeah, and then specialists on the road, and so on and so forth. About 4 to 500,000 working in this public work, yeah. And then significant infra to mega project were created through federal investment through private subcontractor. Yeah. For example, if government got no money, they can subs under the concession macam plus 25 years collecting toll. And then, for example, every if come to 25 years, that means already profitable, break even, for example. Macam kita beli kereta lah, like what you purchase car for 5 years. After 5 years is us lah. So these are the things that required for us to understand on what actually infrastructures with this, and also part of investment for the certain country. Okay. Okay, type of road infrastructure you can see here. Yeah, you can see kalau day-to-day activities they are moving from place to another, you can see highway. Yeah, normally that you use daily. Normally highway. Yeah, for people in KL, they are commute or travel to the workplace. Normally use highway. Yeah, because fast and efficient lah. Normally highway got toll. Toll and highway are actually developed by corporate sector, yeah, company and so on. There, if the government give concession and collect toll for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, and so on. So in within the line, also both party, yeah, between government and the company who operated the highway also profitable, yeah, win-win lah. Government, they will produce the money, but private sector, they produce the money and develop, and they collect concession, yeah, toll and so on, yeah. And most of the country, they are actually using this, especially Indonesia. Also, we have Singapore's toll system, yeah. So it's not money didn't come from the government straight away. They are actually come from private sector and investment. It's part of investment, both party investment. Yeah. Government also invest, private sector also invest, and then profit to the government also, because the company also paying tax. And then at the same time, they are actually help the government to reduce unemployment. Yeah. They can employ, for example, in public work, yeah, we can employ in Malaysia about 4 to 500,000, about 500,000 working in public sector, in public work, yeah, road transportation. Right? highway, road, normal road, rang road, rural road, system road, also infrastructure for you to commute or travel from rural to semi and town. Yeah, so good also lah in terms of connection. It's not only for personal entirety, but in terms of business, transporting raw material from the rural to town. Yeah, and then selling thing and so on. Some doing a personal for business and so on and so forth using personal car. Also, is part of the productivity that is supposed to develop of time to time. Okay. Flyover is not, yeah, just to orang kata to reduce the traffic jam. So the government need to invest or private sector need to invest for the purpose of smooth movement. Yeah. As I said before, if you cause traffic jam, that means the money lost there hidden. Yeah. The traffic jam, smooth movement at one particular time, the car can move smoothly so they can produce better in terms of productivity, market car, business car, personal problem, and then development meeting and so on and so forth. Good because fast, and then we can target that how much is traffic cost of investment and also how much it will cost for our profits because we can reduce traffic jam at one particular time. Tunnel is very costly, yeah, tunnel, but anyhow, they got the purpose of tunnel to smoothen the movement. And then at the same time, there can be a reservoir for water, macam smart tunnel and so on. Good also, yeah. Kalau selalu banjir, flash flood, yeah. In Kuala Lumpur, those days, so many flash flood. But now, it's already tunnel there, so can channel the water from a surface straight away to the tunnel and then throw away to the river, and at the same time they can reduce the flood blast and then also reduce the traffic congestion. So havoc, those days if heavy rain, yeah, sure. But now from time to time, the problem can be mitigated, yeah, reduce, and then people are actually happy, yeah, during downfall, rain, yeah. Uh, People in Kuala Lumpur not worry much about that lah, because we have a tunnel there to preserve the water and channel there straight away, throw away channel to the river and reduce traffic congestion and havoc. Yeah. And then bridges, yeah, bridges is also very important connected from, for example, Penang Bridge, yeah, we got two bridges there, yeah. So expensive, yeah, this day, but in long term profitable. So public can use, you also can use, and then for example, the containerized vehicle placed from place to another, they can use the movement for the purpose of people and public as a whole. This is what we call it the business and investment. Yeah, we cannot say this one is liability. Yeah, can say this one is investment. Yeah, kalau kita buat construction macam tu, investment is not liability. Even though they come out with the government money, but in long term, they are actually helps public here to use the facilities and develop the production. This is the word that normally use lah. Tapi kalau those who are not transported, they say this one waste our government money. Actually not. That one is investment. For transport, thinking about positive way on that. Even though government to develop billion of dollars spend, yeah, but in long term, we are actually profitable. Interchange normal to reduce congestion and so on. Interchange can be used, yeah, for better smoothen the movement, especially on the road transportations. For example, you transporting goods using container, yeah, using interchange, flyover, roads, yeah, good roads, yeah, and then bridges, yeah, and then straight away to the seaport, airport when it's required, and also until the final destination that requested by the customer. It's important, yeah. It's part infrastructure and also development, which therefore in transport infrastructure we have also have on area developments. Yeah. For example, the local kampung people, when you develop road there, and then the price of the land become expensive. Benefit to the kampung people, yeah. So and then encourage business also, encourage movement, encourage trade, development, productions, yeah. You can go to the school easier because of roads, yeah. So need to consider that, yeah. I mean the particular area surrounding actually develops. of road there. Yeah. One day, if you become MP, for example, Wakil Rakyat and so on, minister and so on, you stay in kampung, you develop your kampung with roads. Of course, that particular kampung become better and better. So you can connect it to market, connect it to school, university, yeah, hospital, clinic, and so on. Easy lah. And then, of course, they are actually easy to transport your raw material, for example, palm oil, rubber, and so on, with a good infrastructure. You can sell it fast and also benefited for them, yeah, particular investment made by the government, yeah. And then, of course, with the infrastructure development, you actually invite on population, yeah, invite populated population area that one become populated, and then everybody are using the facilities, yeah. Even one time a government invested that thing, so at the same time, people are actually focus on that area to maybe want to develop house, yeah, business center, what you call it, shop, Sunday shop, and so on, become good in that particular area. Yeah? So all these things, yeah, are actually connected infrastructure and investment, economic development. Okay, what else we have on infrastructure? Highways, yeah, highways. Tadi sudah beritahu highways. Either you are actually developed by the government or actually by corporate sector, yeah, private sector. They are actually using toll system, concessions for 25 years, 30 years, and so on. So in between the line, both party actually profitable between the private sector and also government. Government also receiving tax from the business made by the private sectors, and then the private sector also can employ people, more than 10,000 working in highways now in Malaysia, right? So good also lah, yeah. They got CEO, they got GM, managers, people collecting toll until level, yeah, levels, yeah, yeah, good. Ah, highway can also varies country to country, can be referred to roads, freeways, super highway, auto road, autobahn, macam-macam dia bagilah. Kita di Malaysia expressways, ya. And then byway, extra, motorway, and so on. This one is term using by several countries lah, ya. Tapi di Malaysia, you call it highway is been already referring to the less stops movement, ya. Express, fast lah, ya. Good, ya. Highway design very widely. They can include some characters, grade, separation, multiple lane, traffic, medium lane, opposite traffic cross, and then sometimes they put what you call it, motorcycle lane, heavy vehicle lane, and so on and so forth. In Malaysia, minimum we have two lanes, lanes, left and right, and maximum to six. Yeah, Kuala Lumpur and Seremban, we have six, five or six, yeah, very good, smooth, because they are actually heavy populated area, and then most of the people use the highway to go to the office, work, investment from Seremban to Kuala Lumpur. You can see the heavy movement there, but smooth, yeah, because you have enough space, yeah. So it's therefore the highway is part of the utilities which can generate more business, yeah, more productions, yeah, and also better for economy in the future. To develop things for better, that means better is not only for individual, corporate sector, but also the government and public as a whole. Yeah? Right? Okay, what else? Okay, North South Highway was developed about 850 kilometer, yeah, from Bukit Kaitam to Kuala Lumpur. Take about 20 years, yeah, developing. So this one is cost about how many billion? About 80 billion ringgit, yeah, those days. Mahal lah kan, very expensive. But from time to time, it's not only come up from government money. This one is private money to invest that thing, and then supported, yeah, by the government. Government guarantee lah to develop for 25 years concession. Yeah. But after 25 years, I think now it's already break even. That's why you can see the reductions from time to time. So with the MOU with the government, even 25 years, they can be extended, yeah, but provided you have to reduce the concessions company need to reduce the toll, yeah. For example, now is 8 kilometer cent, yeah, per kilometer, 8 cent per kilometer, for example. Maybe you want to extend another 20 years, maybe the cost of the toll maybe tinggal 5 cent or 4 cent and so on. But if the government want to over the plus, for example, the highway, they have to pay accordingly lah. It's minus dollar, yeah, and then minus the profit and say have for the past 20 years and so on. Maybe the cost is more lah because the current value, right? That's why you can afford to stay in politics. Say want to take over the plus and so on. Actually cannot, because the money had already invested there, and then if you want to take over, that means you have to the private sector will then give you a certain amount, which is kata opportunity loss need to cover. That means they already invested in that one as agreed upon. Why suddenly government want to take over? You have to pay the opportunity loss lah by the company. Maybe double instead of 80 billion, you have to pay 120 billion, 200, which is the government can afford to do this. Leave it there. Yeah. The expressly link with the major city in Malaysia, Western Malaysia, I think backbone, West Coast Peninsula Malaysia, also plus S-Way, yeah. Okay. Plus lah. Ini plus, yeah. Highways, yeah. I'm sure other country also, they are actually doing this, yeah. Highway privates, developed by privates, and then guaranteed by the government for certain years to collecting to concession in bracket. Okay. Monitoring and maintenance, actually, they are actually subs from the corporate sector or private sector. They got subs to make sure that they maintain. You cannot say that you develop for 80 billion, at the same time you cannot maintain. Road have to maintain properly to avoid more or to smoothen the movement and to avoid accident. This one is very important. Which therefore we calculated every maintenance cost take 50% of the total sale, for example. Kalau we collected about 100 million for 1 year, for example, 50%, about 150 million came, I have to spend for maintenance costs. Which therefore, from time to time, at any one time, they got maintenance, highway, and then they got Tampal, they got Kore, and then at the same time they got develop it little bit higher, getting the Tameng and so on, develop the lane, yeah. And then they develop the tool, for example, to area connected and so on to make sure that these are actually things need to be done for the purpose of safety yeah, for the public. Safety and smoothen of the movement for the public. Yeah. And then in highway also we have traffic management. Yeah, traffic management, how to calculate using the system CCTV. This one is intelligent transport. Maybe if you got time after this, we touch on intelligent transport. I'm sure that other officers or lecturers also, they are actually teaching intelligent transport. But we're going to touch a little bit on intelligent transport, which therefore important because need to be controlled systematically to avoid traffic jam and so on. In Highway Malaysia, we have billboard there, sometimes traffic accident and so on and so forth. And then they close circuit using CCTV and so on to monitor at one particular time how many vehicles during festive season. For example, they can count in the system. So at any one time during festive season, 1 millions on the roads, highway, for example. You can see how using CCTV and so on. So to avoid jam, so you have to follow the instruction from the plus authority. So you have to work. You have to go 9 o'clock in the morning straight away when you want to go to from Changlong to Johor Bahru, 9 o'clock in the morning. If you go 10 o'clock, you may face the traffic jam lah, because people from Penang very video and so on. So system can control that thing. Yeah? All right. And then any other transport, we call it transport integrated transport information system control. Kalau dekat bandar town, they control by municipal town, yeah, they control to avoid traffic jam at one particular time. And then they got traffic light there, they can control. If also infrastructure helps public to go to use the facilities more smooth and efficient. Yeah, all right. For example, town like Johor Bahru, Penang, and so on and so forth, they got the systems that control the traffic. Yeah, and then at the same time also they can think like, oh, this one need to be developed. The area need to be developed on flyover, tunnel, and so on. Yeah, to suggest to the government for future infrastructure development for investment. Yeah, okay. Toll. Toll system is the concession. As I told you clearly lah, whether 20 years, 25 years, based on win-win lah, government and private sector. This one is normally other country also practicing this, yeah, for the purpose of budget lah, yeah. What we call it win-win concept. Win-win concept means that private sector also profitable, government also profitable. That's all. Government profit because you want to develop other sector also. Yeah. Okay. Open system, no, open system, pakai tiket through open system lah kan. And then now using the systematic, ada tag, we got tag system, yeah, they got just no need to pay manually, using the system. Senang, smooth, yeah. It's not like before using ticket and send the pay, and then sometimes missing ticket, you have to pay all those things now using system, which is can connected to your credit card, debit card, and so on. Just pass through only. RFID better now, yeah. Before that, smart tag also better, yeah, straight away, yeah. And then touch and go, less bit delay lah, kan. And then the worst part, you pay cash lah, yeah. But now using the lowest is touch and go lah. Better for you to move easy and less cash transactions, and automatically that other parties or business can budget themselves for use the money for other maintenance, development for the highways and so on. Yeah. All right. I'm sure other countries also practicing this open close, yeah, system. Okay, what I'm going to show you, even though you develop the infrastructure for highway, for example, you got a certain area which can also help other parties to do their business and develop. For example, you have rest area. Rest area means not only for you to rest, that means uh, the government also develop local entrepreneur to sell food and so on, sometimes hotel, food line. By the time you rest, you can have a drink, yeah, lunch, dinner, and so on. Also, local people also benefited with the development of the infrastructure, yeah, and so on. Right. And then also we have the public, sometimes we got the, repair car and so on, yeah. And then at the same time got wakaf, surau, prayers room, and then some got fast food, 7-Eleven. So you can purchase, you can also do a transaction in terms of business there lah. Restaurant is the most lah, yeah. Restaurant is the most there, so you can have rest. So it's not only workers are profitable, employment people is not only profitable there, so public also profitable, and also businessmen also profitable for the infrastructure of development of the roads infrastructure. Yeah. All right. So what else? Yeah, the lay-by. Lay-by, call it lah. Ataupun ada buat overhead restaurant. Macam dekat Sungai Buloh, we have overhead restaurant. Mana lagi? Dekat Melaka, we have overhead. Very efficient, effective. People just for the purpose of them stay and rest, and then you can buy food, stuff, and so on. Sometimes tak ada dijual di local, but it's selling the highway and so on. Purposely just to go to the supermarket there and buy and drink, relax on the way to the various destinations that are already planned. The rest, all the we have CS, customer service sections, develops, and then you got highway marketing system, kalau kita rosak, and all in between, so highway maintenance and so on, So good for the public lah. This one is extraordinary orang kata job lah to make sure that public use that thing are actually profitable for the usage of that particular infrastructure. Touch and go now already goods in terms of tag, smart tag, and so RFID lah now this year. They're using this. Okay, type of road apa nak belajar type of road ni to differentiate between what are actually need to develop by the government. As a transporter, you should be able to understand all these things to make sure that every year you have to monitor budget for transportation. Every year they come up budget 2 billion, 3 billion, and so on and so forth. Whether this one is assigned to private sector or direct vested by the government. It's important lah sebagai transporter kan. Good also. So expressways, of course, expressways now in Malaysia, we have privatized project, concession lah by the government, national government money directly. Government guarantee for that, for them to own or to borrow money from overseas, So through private sector lah. And then federal roads normally they are actually developed by government. Government Sistem Laluan Malaysia, Bill Road Network Malaysia, Bill Maintenance by JKR. Kalau JKR, that means that one is 100% developed by the government. Public road, they develop. In Malaysia, we have 40,000 kilometer. For example, this one, whole Malaysia, undeveloped by Public Road Department, PWD, ataupun in Malaysia JKR. State road in Malaysia, state road pula kalau ada state, state tu developed by state itself, kalau J tu Johor lah kan, Johor berapa kilometer and so on and so forth, Oh, yang ni Johor Johor 45,000 from the rural road tu, campur 45,000 tu. And then kalau KN ni Negeri Sembilan and so on, that one by state and development by state. That means anything went wrong, you want to complain to the state. State also government, because the money allocated to the state to develop the roads. Kita jangan kata rural road is not important. Rural road is important because you want to transport raw material to the nearest point of distribution. Okay, what's else? Flyover tadi kan. Okay, flyover pun kita dah baca tadi. Flyover for the purpose of flyover is to reduce the congestion lah. To make more channel or the way to travel from place to another goods. The purpose is to reduce congestion. Ingat, congestion kalau problem, dia jadi problem to that particular country. Tunnel, tunnel is important now. Those days, tunnel is not important. But during 70s and 90s, that one become popular tunnel every time because top surface is not enough already. The surface people tunnel for two purpose. Number one is for traffic. Number two is for a reservoir. To channel the water in case of flash floods. Heavy downfall. Hujan lebat and so on. They can channel straight away. Macam smart. Macam storm tu kan. Di Kuala Lumpur kan. It's about 18 kilometer. Tunnel. Very big. Otherwise, kalau 18 km tak ada, during the raining season, all full. Penuh. So berapa besar dia punya, how big the quantity of the water there inside, is 18 kilometer. Just imagine. And then the depth is about uh, 20 feet, yeah, 20 feet. Wide is about 40 feet. How big? Very big. Yeah? So anything went wrong, banjir, flood, and so on, they can channel the water there straight away, easy. There is no on the surface, nothing. Yeah? But dalam tu full with water. Yeah. So if you go to Kuala Lumpur, Seremban, you can use this tunnel. The tunnel, you can see everything. Water. That one is for the traffic and also for the water lah, in case of heavy downfall. Yeah. Okay, purpose dia. Sewer and where other carry other services and telecommunication cable. So other thing also they can use cable there, can use the water there, can use the facilities there, piping, and so on. Of course, not only tunnel. And of course, the purpose is for the motor traffic and also the reservoir lah, the water container lah, we call it, inside in case of emergency there, in case of flood and so on and so forth. All right. And then use the NB also there, power, water, and then use the sewerage system, which use that to transport that thing from place, piping, using piping and so on. Ada dekat situ ya. Using tunnel, tunnel. But to develop tunnel is very expensive. I think more than 10 times develop road. That is about 18 kilometer. It cost Malaysian money about 2.4 billion to stay, remember? In 90s, 2.4 billion. And then so many complain those days, why so expensive lah, wasted money lah, and then now wasted government money and so on and so forth. But after you develop the thing, so people so very easy, very less story about the flooded area in Kuala Lumpur. So people actually seem to be very happy because the water had already channeled out there. If anything wrong or during the downfall, happy. Heavy rain, people still can move on the roads because of the tunnel water already channeled out to the tunnel and so on. Tunnel close lah, kan? Alright. And then straight away connected to Klang River and through there. Okay. We call it smart tunnel kat Kuala Lumpur, we call it smart tunnel. The only tunnel that already develops cost about 2 billion ringgit there. The purpose of drainage lah during storm. We call it storm drainage structure under crossing in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. This one is the best lah, I'm telling you. The storm water tunnel for the purpose of motorists, public usage, and also for the purpose of safety in case of heavy downfall. All right. And then distance is about 18 kilometers lah those days. Yeah. So can use various purpose other than motorcycle, flood, and so on. So can use the for pipeline, water also can use there, for some sections, power, sewerage, and so on there. And then also invite further to work there, especially specialists, thousands of people working there. And then during development, thousands of people now, less lah, monitoring the maintenance only. About few lah, about 100. These are the things that need to be done. Consider infrastructure in road transportation for the purpose of better movement and for economic benefits in future. Okay, under Smart Tunnel tadi, led by Malaysia Highway Authority (LIM) and Department of Irrigation Drainage Malaysia. This one under them. And then they got some constructions under Gamunda Berhad. You are actually doing the thing project lah, straight away. That one also include under plus lah, collect the money from them, sub. Lembaga Lebuh Raya. So what else? Smart. Okay, tak payah you just read the smart tunnels. You can see everything there already. They got several purpose at the moment. Purpose is two, for the flood and also for the motorists. The rest for helping other pipelines industry, macam piping, sewerage, and also power generation using pipe, cable, and so on. Use that area, to channel out from place to another. Also transportation, about 2 billion lah. Cost dia. Jadi semua lebih kurang 9.7 plus the additional about 10 kilometer lah. 10 kilometer lah. The rest is just top, surface road to channel out the motorists to the channel, to the tunnel. So all these things link with other places. Okay. Kita tengok Penang Bridge pula, Penang Bridge developed in 1985. Lying about 13.5 kilometer. The purpose is to connecting the main area to the island. And those days during 80s, people still got complaint because public complaint. Public complaint because too expensive. Because they developed 850 million only. But people still tend to complain because so wasting government money, so everything. Many years they are stranded there because public complaint those days. Makan duit lah, kerajaan habis duit and so on and so forth. Then I was there, those days. So many complaint in the paper. Develop, people opposition, no, not develop using this one, not to develop using this other purpose as well. But government insists to develop, that thing. In English, those days, 1985. I still remember so many complaints there. So what happened? Now become congested, and then the Penantis request another one second bridge connected to the south. So macam mana? Pasal apa dia orang complain? Why the all people complain? Because those days people don't understand regarding the investment in infrastructure. Sebab dia tak datang kelas saya. They fail to come to my class, that's why people complain. But you as a transporter, you cannot complain because you are actually think good for the country actually. It's not just when-wenangnya develop thing, waste money kan. Bukan. That one is for development and investment. Also, you can channel out. Otherwise, using ferry take about many hours, 2 or 3 hours to reach Penang. But now take about 20 minutes reach Penang. Tak sampai pun 10 minutes can reach from Butterworth to Penang. Cost only 4 ringgit 50 cent, 5 ringgit 50 cent. So I heard the price of the Penang Bridge now already reduced because already break even after 15 years break even. So macam mana? Can government take over Penang Bridge? Then you have to pay 2 billion Because why? Loss opportunity loss. You have to pay. So maintain for the private sector to collect toll until certain period, and then until a stage, if you want to reduce some more, also can. The basic principle is if you purchase a car for 5 years loan, after 5 years, the car becomes yours. No need to pay anymore, but you have to pay maintenance. Macam tu lah. Profitable lah. So the government have to orang kata suggest to the private the company to reduce the toll price instead of 4 ringgit 50 cent, reduce 300 ringgit 50 cent from time to time. So become good. Now become traffic jam there. Those days people complain, now traffic jam until many hours, several hours, sometimes jam. So Kenapa tak ikut ferry? Alright, that one is Penang Bridge. Toll rate system macam itulah dia gunakan toll system. Exchanges also is, even the exchange is not the kata uh, ticket collected, but this one they are actually developed by the government lah, exchanges lah. Also important kalau interchanges ni di toll, di highway developed by Plus lah. Kalau di Kuala Lumpur town area, di town area developed by federal, by the government and so on, to make sure that smoothen lah all the movement at one particular time to avoid traffic jam. What else? Okay, we narrow down to our syllabus, yeah, study in road transport, what we have here in transportations as a whole. What type of terminal? Terminal is infrastructure. Either they developed by the government or private sector. Kalau airport, private sector lah. Yeah, they're collecting, they are making business there. They can charge public, can charge the users for the development. For example, bidding airport, terminal and so on. Airport kan, bidding, dia boleh ambil sewa, rental. Parking kapal terbang, they charge airliner, and so on. Skybridge, they also can charge. Hotel, we can develop and charge also. So they can also produce so many things, business punya entities lah, selling ticket there, restaurant there, yeah. And then at the same time, packaging also there, warehouse also there, yeah. Bonded, non-bonded also there, and so on. So are actually making business of the airport lah. Runway. When you touch down, the airline is able to, you can charge the airline regarding the baggage, bridges, skybridge ya, ataupun normal ladder lah, ya, tangga dan sebagainya, charge ya, to the liner ya, air transporter lah, right? And then terminal station macam passenger rail and so on also is part of the infrastructure terminal ya, good for the passenger, cargo and so on. It's terminal. Terminal is the place for them to start work lah, automatically modes ya. And then also can invite further uh, orang kata business such as hotel, restaurant, Sunday shop, selling newspaper and so on and so forth, right? Container terminal is the place where you can place the container kan. Is part of the terminal lah. They can rent, they can develop their repair, maintenance, spraying and then fogging and so on. It's part of the business also, yeah. Container terminal. Normally, every haulage company, they got container terminal. Or you can operate your own container terminal just to store the container belong to shipping line, right? It's what is also part of the business, right? And then pipeline terminal. Pipeline terminal, kita nak buat gas, import, export. Kereta to Singapore, kereta to Bangkok dan sebagainya. Using terminal, transport it. And then from time to time, they monitor the meter and so on, export, declare, pay tax and so on, which finance nation macam export gas lah ke Singapore, using this, terminal, yeah. And then you want to export gas to Thailand and so on using important lah. Kalau tak ada pipeline, take many years to transport that thing. But if pipeline, few hours only reach there. Even though the developed pipeline very expensive, very costly, but in long term benefited, profitable, better than other models. So yeah. Bus, taxi, bus stand, bus stop, and so on is part also terminal and also part of the business. Macam bus station Kuala Lumpur, macam hotel lah. And then you have this very structured terminal that we have in Malaysia lah. TBS, Terminal Kuala Lumpur, cost about 700,000, 700 million there. Some talk like air terminal. Everything there can be connected to bus, connected to rail, and straightway to airport and so on. Easy. I mean, one-stop center there. Yeah. So business also there, restaurant also there, and then banking system also there, security, safety, sundry shop, yeah, health, cleaning, and so on and so forth. That's nearby. Good. Yeah. So can encourage internally and also can encourage externally, public and also the people who are actually dealing with business there because of the infrastructure terminal. Warehousing is a terminal. Yeah. You can do import, export there, custom declaration there. You got people there, you got custom department there. You make a transaction, business, big bulking, and so on and so forth. Yeah, paneling, packaging, and so on, doing in the warehouse. It's the part of the terminal. Yeah, and then terminal also in the warehouse, so you got cross docking. Cross docking where the thing from the warehouse can be transport, can be loaded straight away to the container and export without lifting down the container. Yeah, cross docking, very fast one. It's the transaction, it's a terminal. Yeah, normally this one is developed by private sector lah, company and so on. Cross docking, it's a business, it's a terminal. Inland Crane Depot, ICD, for example, they connected with warehouse and also rail just beside, just side by side. They can also transport container, lorry. Yeah? They can also move to export to overseas, connected to the various port in Malaysia, for example, Penang, Port Klang, and so on, using BTS, Block Train Service Container, kereta api, train, and so on. It's a part of the business. Yeah? Ataupun dry port. Dry port is terminal. Dekat Ipoh ada dry port. Kat Segamat ada dry port. And then you are actually planning to do a dry port in Bukit Kaitam. It's a business lah. Yeah. Business. You can make a declaration and export there. It's the terminal. Where we have container there, we have lorry there, we have people there, we have to do the transaction in terms of movement, import, export, and so on and so forth, or local delivery. Betul? Dry port, ya. Ataupun transshipment port, macam Tanjung Pelepas. It's a terminal, transshipment. So many people there, you got transition up and down, container and so on and so forth. That's transshipment. Port dan sebagainya. So any transshipment, they got handling. Handling is money. Handling money, maintenance money, they got maintenance thing, yeah. Got people monitor, yeah, controlling and so on. People also working there. You also make a transaction in terms of business there, and at the same time, you develop the local for the purpose of economic development. And then cross-border transport. Cross-border transport is normally what I did before is cross-border transport, crossing border. For example, Malaysia to Thailand, Malaysia to Singapore, cross-border. And then they got placed there, either dry port ataupun personal entity, and then crossing the border to make declaration. This one is very important. And then at the same time, we are actually doing things for better for the company profit, and at the same time, we are actually helping government to by paying tax and so on. This is what we call it management, yeah. In terms of productivity, encourage productivity. So at the same time, we can develop the local people and then make a transaction in terms of business. And at the same time, kalau ada transaction, of course, that particular country become develops in terms of uh, economic lah, yeah. So all these things. So if you want to see the country better in terms of development, you see all these things, infrastructure and so on and so forth. If infrastructure good, efficient, smooth, yeah, so people can travel smoothly, and that one good, that particular. That's why I encourage you to go overseas and visit them. For example, you go to Singapore, how people do that? Very efficient, kan, Singapore. Yeah, easy to control because the small country kan. Kalau Malaysia tu kurang sikit lah. Ya kan, tapi good also lah. As much as possible, yeah, the government Malaysia develop that thing for the better in future lah. Alright. Okay, last slide lah. Slide ni panjang sangat. After this, we are going to continue next slide. Yeah. Terminal may mean a place of infrastructure for all modes to be station connected and purpose of passenger goods movement and facilities. Yeah, terminal. The terminal are normally equipped with the facilities such as waiting place, terminal compartment, direction, food, beverage, hotel, shop, ticketing services. Terminal are considered one-stop center to all modes. Many types of terminal have been developed in Malaysia, in other countries as well, purpose of faster and connected in movement of travel. Terminal usually include ticket, boat, ticket, machine, ticket sale, also combined into customer service desk, convenience stores, and many include some of the convenience stores lah. Yeah. Okay, last line. Yeah. Normally terminal tadi sudah beritahu kan, they got thing, they got they got hotel, they got some, they got kalau kat luar negara ada pub, ya. Kat Malaysia tak ada lah. They got lodge, they got hotel, they got restaurant, ticket, waiting room. And then they also connected with other mode. Kalau taxi, bus, they connected with taxi and so on. So terminal, function of terminal. And then the most important thing is terminal for the purpose to groups, ataupun the end point, and disperse point for that particular modes lah. It's not only, for example, bus station there, TBS, they can disperse, they can disperse the passengers from road until air. They connected to rail and then air, terus pergi airport macam ni. System, and then they also connected with taxis, of course lah, local taxis, and then people, they connected past center of the connection and disperse. And then the purpose is to make sure that it's better movement to become productive country, better in terms of productivity. In other countries, terminal are used to place the public market, other important business, especially through and routes and station near tourists, relative to the country. Yeah. Okay, now 11 o'clock already. We start at here. So, in next class, we are going to discuss on the infrastructure facilities or how this important to you and as to country as a whole. Okay, class. I think that's all. Thank you very much for listening, and see you next Wednesday. Any question? If no, that's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Doctor. Terima kasih.
Tidak.